Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. I'm your host Cheryl Hentz. Very pleased to welcome back to the show some old friends, not old chronologically, but old in how often they've been here, at least one of them. Welcome to the show this evening. We have two folks from the Oshkosh Area Humane Society. We have to my right Cheryl Rosenthal, who is the Outreach and Education Coordinator at the shelter, and to her right is Ieva Engel. And this is Ieva's second time on the show. She was here last year. She had been hired as president of the shelter, and now they've kind of retooled things and they've given you a different title, and it's executive director. So duties are the same?
Yes, they are.
All right, excellent. Well, welcome to you both. We're going to talk a little bit later about the main reason why you guys are here, and that's the annual Walk for the Animals, and what the theme is this year and so forth. But I want to talk first about some of the changes that have been going on at the shelter, because they've been a lot. Besides changing titles for you, you guys have hired a part-time marketing and PR person. Emily Anderson is her
That's
name?
correct, yes.
Okay, and she's been doing what? Updating the website and that kind of thing so far?
Oh, she has been one busy girl. She helped design a new logo for the shelter.
Okay.
She has built us a new website. She has gotten us involved with our software as far as, when people sign up for things like the walk, better ways of doing it that make it more convenient for people. She's doing a wonderful job with a little video that she does every Wednesday. She calls it Walk Through Wednesday, where she walks through the video and she talks about the different animals and what their needs are and who's been there the longest, and it's just very personable, and it's live. So as you're walking down the hall, if you see Emily recording this, you're supposed to wave and say hi. So it's very casual, and hopefully people are enjoying it. We get a lot of shares. What else is she doing, Ieva? You see her more than I do.
Well, she's working on promoting our adoptable animals, especially the long timers that we've had at the shelter. She's involved with the Walk for the Animals campaign and event as well. So she's involved in many different facets, and she's been an amazing addition to our team.
Okay. So this Walk Through Wednesday thing that she does, you said it's live? So what time of day is that then?
She does it, I believe it's noon.
Okay.
It varies at times if we have staff training or maybe an event going on. It could happen just before noon or a little bit after. Typically, she posts ahead of time what time the live Wednesday walkthrough will be, and then it is also recorded.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask if someone can't see
definitely,
it's there for someone to see later. Okay, excellent. And now, has your role at all changed, Cheryl, other than going, you went to part-time
I went to
about
part-time.
a year ago?
It really hasn't changed all that much.
Still kind of doing the same stuff.
What changed a lot was during COVID, we weren't able to do a lot of educational programs, or there weren't a lot of availability to do educational programs. And so that is still, a main focus for me. And now, since COVID has been passed for a couple of years, I know it's there, it's never going away totally, but now people are a little bit more comfortable, so I can get back into the area schools and have more programs at the shelter, so that is good. And then I still do a lot of the cat consultations for the shelter, and that kind of ebbs and that changes along the way. So I'm not and I help Emily with the rehoming page. So there's some things. My role just hasn't changed a whole lot.
You're kind of involved in everything still a little bit.
But I'm able to have a little bit more free time. She's kind of been picking up the slack of different areas where I've been. And some of our staff have kind of pitched in those areas too. So it's been kind of nice. The days go by really fast when you're just part-time. But it feels good.
So part-time for the shelter, how many hours do you work?
About 25.
Okay.
25, and sometimes I forget that I'm there and I put in more than I should.
That is easy to do, though, especially when you're like you and you have a passion for what you're doing.
I like what I do.
Because it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
Sometimes, maybe.
Well,
but
and right now, and I'm sure you're going to segue to this, but we recently hired a new volunteer coordinator. And so because I've been involved with the shelter for so long, I try to help new people find their way or answer questions that they have or be available to them.
Sure.
To be kind of, like, I want you to succeed, so tell me how I can help you.
So the new volunteer coordinator, I did not know that, but thank you for telling us about that. So who is it and what does this person do?
I'm going to segue to you.
All right. His name is Joe Hoffman.
Okay.
He just started, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and he comes from long experience in hospitality industry and some hospitality leadership as well. So his role is to make sure that our volunteers, the existing volunteers, are taken care of, that they are trained appropriately, that we engage with them, and that they are happy and skilled at the volunteering tasks that they do. But then also one of the largest focuses is attracting new volunteers. So it's attracting new volunteers, retaining them, being that liaison between our department leaders and the volunteers.
Well, as long as we're talking about volunteers, what kinds of things do your volunteers do? I'm sure you have different volunteers for doing different things. What do you need in the way of volunteers, and how many hours a week is someone expected to volunteer?
Well, we have very various needs. We have volunteers that are working hands-on with the animals, with cats, dogs, and the small mammals. We have folks who are working specifically with the shy kitties, and so they are funneled through that branch. We have volunteers who are washing and folding laundry, who are doing maintenance tasks, who are volunteering to outdoors events, some who are interested in special events that we do. So we have a very broad variety of volunteers.
And walking dogs also.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's very important, yes. We definitely could use more dog walking volunteers.
Okay, wonderful. All right, well, the other thing that I really want to talk about is, and this is pretty significant news, you're undergoing an expansion and some renovations. Tell us about that, because you've sort of been running out of space for a while. And when you first talked to me about this, maybe it was a year ago already, I was a little disheartened to hear that you guys might be moving because, as you know, Cheryl, I was on the board of directors when we did the capital campaign to get this beautiful new shelter built, and I thought, oh, part of what I helped so much with and am so proud of is going to be going away. So I was happy to hear that you guys were, expanding. So how have you expanded? By how much? And what are the other renovations that are going on?
So maybe I can take that.
Yes, please do.
So right now we are not expanding the footprint of the building. We are renovating, and there are certain areas that badly needed renovation, such as countertops and sinks. I mean, it's high use, and there's a lot of water in the area, so we always have to make sure that we are not growing mold in any areas. However, what we are doing as part of this is ensuring that our space is very efficiently used. So, for instance, we are moving some folks out of offices and moving animals in, like our small mammal adoption center. It used to be an office. Now all the small mammals are in one room together. The small mammal coordinator, Sarah, is in the same office. So it makes for a very inviting, nice environment for the adopters, and also that space is further away from other animals, so they aren't hearing the dogs, a little bit less stressful for them. So that is how we're addressing that expansion piece, is just by pairing people up in offices. We don't really need individual offices, and so it's gaining efficiencies that way, so that we make the space more of the space used for animal needs. Okay.
Well, I know that right on not Murdoch.
Bowen
Street, thank you. Brain freeze. Right on Bowen there There was a car wash at one time. It still looks like a car wash, but there's a big sign there. You guys, that's your sign. You own that property. You know, it doesn't directly abut your current property, but it's right there in that same neck of the woods. Might that be used at some point for any kind of expansion purposes?
It could be. The car wash itself does butt up right to our dog park.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yes, so it's right. It butts right up to the dog park, and we use that facility right now. It's getting kind of worn down, but we use that currently for storing some things, extra supplies that we have. And I'm sure that sometime we probably would utilize that. But right now, I think with the renovations that we've done and better utilizing our space and getting a better handle on the supplies that we need and better ordering systems, that type of thing. So it isn't just renovations of the building, but it's some innovative ways of how we can better operate out of that building and have a smoother flow with things that are coming in and going out of the building. You know, making sure that we're not running out of things, but we also don't want to be stockpiling things that, you know, we have, let's say that we have enough garbage bags for 6 years. We don't need garbage bags for 6 years. But we also don't want to run out of garbage bags or those types of things. So I think it's been a really positive experience. It's fun to see the changes in that building. And I just want to share with you that no matter if the shelter moves, you still have played, and anybody who got us to 1925 Shelter Court will always be a part of making our shelter one of the best shelters in the state of Wisconsin, no matter where we are.
Thank you.
And I think that's important for people to know how much we appreciate their support and helping us grow and to continue to do the work that we do in the community.
Well, thank you. It was an exciting time, and it still is for me. You know, I'm very proud when I see that building, but more importantly, I'm just very proud of all the work that you, the staff, all the volunteers do, because it is much needed. You know, it really is, and you need more people. So. Well, I've got a whole list of things I want to talk about, but let's talk about the big thing, and that is the upcoming annual Walk for the Animals. It is coming up on Saturday, September 14th, and the theme this year is called Make the Magic Happen. So tell us all about it.
Make the magic happen. Well, I like to think that we try to make the magic happen every day at the shelter.
And you guys do.
And this year, the idea was that we're trying to get more families involved with the Walk for the Animals. And, you know, we can't use any trademark names, so we just, you know, we were trying to think of happily ever afters, and you know, and then together I don't know who came up with it, but I think it was Emily. Make the magic happen, and I thought that's it. Make the magic happen for us and for the animals. And so we're going to do some really fun things at the walk this year, and we're hoping that people will come with their families. The walk itself, the purpose of the walk, and we don't want that to get lost. The purpose of the walk is to raise money for our medical fund, for our basic medical fund. So just a reminder that every animal coming into our shelter receives a full medical exam upon arrival. And that means sometimes it needs to include blood work, treatment for parasites, distemper vaccinations, rabies vaccinations, treatment of parasites. And that all adds up when you're doing that for every single animal. And so we are hoping to raise $60,000, which I believe is not even half of what our basic medical, and when I say basic medical, that's just the everyday stuff. That isn't the dog or cat that may come in with a broken leg or something more severe.
Or abuse cases.
Correct.
Right?
That's
a whole separate fund.
So by having the magic happen with the medical fund and having people out there raising money, we want to have some fun celebrating, hopefully raising that much money for the medical fund. So by having it be Make the Magic Happen, We're going to have a magician there. They're going to have, I should say we, it's just not somebody else doing this.
You won't be pulling a rabbit out of the hat.
No. Sarah would frown on that. We're having our wheel of prizes like we always do. We're going to have a big basket raffle. We're going to have games for the kids, some games for dogs. They're also having, there's something that is escaping me. One of our volunteers and one of our board members is going to be making magic wands with the kids.
Oh, cool.
To kind of make it fun. And of course, we're going to have a costume contest. And we are going to have a band this year, which is something we've never done before. And so Mike Malone will be there playing music and doing some of the announcements. And it's just going to be a really fun-packed morning. Brewing Futures is going to be there.
Brewing Futures. Not
that is the, now I'm blanking. It's the group, they have a van and they go out into the community and they will serve different foods and beverages at your event.
Okay.
And it's a way to get kids, give them experience of running a business.
Oh, okay.
And
is it part of a school or? All right.
I'm embarrassed to say.
That's fine.
I don't know.
Right.
I know that they were there a couple years ago, and they were such a hit. They had pup cups, and everybody was buying pup cups for their puppies. And we just thought that was such a great way to get these young adults involved in our event and have food and drink there at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
We have the vegan bake sale people will be there.
Oh, good.
We're going to have the Herpetological Society will be there. If anybody wants to check this out, they can just go to our website and click on Walk for the Animals, and all that information is there. And most importantly, we'd love to have you make a fundraising page and ask all your friends and neighbors to donate to that, and there will be prizes involved for that as well. So we just want to make this a fun celebration and at the same time help the Humane Society, but help us help those and make that magic happen.
Sure, absolutely. It sounds like a great time. Starts at 8:30? Is that when you can start registering or whatever?
Registering, and then I believe we'll have a welcome around 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And then the walk itself will be around 10 o'clock. And, there'll be enough other stuff. The walk is less than a mile, so it isn't real long.
And people don't have to walk.
They
if
don't have to
want
walk. So, September can be kind of a goofy month for us.
Yeah.
If it's really hot, we'll have kiddie pools for the dogs.
Okay.
Your dogs are welcome. Remember, please, no dogs in heat, and please make sure they're current and on a leash. No retractable leashes. We don't like those at events because the dogs get tangled.
They're not good at all anyway.
Yeah, that's a whole other subject,
Yes,
I
it
guess.
is.
But just lots of things that people will be able to do. And what I have always loved about the walk, when you bring your dog, by noon, your dog is pretty hot and tired from being there. And you can go home, give your dog a rest, have a sandwich, and then go do something else for the day. So it's just a morning event, but a lot of fun for the whole family.
Right. And, and if you don't have a pet, you can still go out and walk. You can still make a donation. It doesn't matter. The point is to bring awareness to what this wonderful shelter does, because we are very gifted in this community to have this beautiful shelter. And I say that not because I had a part in it. It's because of who works there, who volunteers there, and the very much needed work that they all do. And it's the people and the animals that make the place special.
Yeah. The one thing that I love, Cheryl, about the walk is because I was always working the walk, I never got to take my own dog. And it was kind of the best of both worlds because I got to meet and touch everybody else's dog.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a pet but you'd like to have a pet, this is an ideal time to just be with other people that love animals.
Sure.
And get your doggy fix.
Yeah, no pun intended. and find out
About getting
why,
a doggy fix.
why you want to get a pet, perhaps, or why you should get one. And we should tell folks it's at the usual spot. It's at Sunnyview Expo Center in Barn B?
E.
Barn E.
Is it? I've got it right here.
I think you're right, Barn E.
Barn E, right by the stadium,
Okay,
the race car, whatever.
okay. Easy enough to find because
yeah.
just follow the people.
Yep.
And I'm going to take just a moment to make a little shameless plug for something that I'm involved in, and I will be there that morning handing out little flyers. Hope that's okay with you guys. On Saturday, October 5th, my church, and you don't have to be a member of my church or any church for that matter, but we will be doing on Saturday, October 5th, an annual pet blessing service as well as a combination remembrance service for people who have perhaps lost pets throughout the year. You may not think that the two kind of go together, but the way the people kind of blend it together, it really does work, and it's a wonderful service. So I'm going to be at the Walk for the Animals handing out flyers with information about that, and so please save the date for that as well.
Awesome.
So anything else about this walk that people should know?
Can you think of anything?
I made my donation. I'd like others
Yes,
to make their
thank you very
donations as
much.
well. I'm not creating a donation page, but I've made
Well,
my, I've
now,
made my
if people
donation.
don't want to make a donation page, and I want people to know, I am not always the most computer savvy,
That's why I don't do
and
it.
that's how some other people are. But what's so neat about our brochure, which you can download, or they will be going out in the mail, or you can stop at the shelter and we'll print one for you. You can get a pledge form, and we have several people that they just take this pledge form and take it to their neighbors or friends and say, you know, you don't have to give $10 or $20 or $50. Every dollar counts. So,
Yep, it does.
you know, if you know 100 people, there's $100. And it really makes a difference. So you don't have to collect online. You don't have to do it online. And then we have 2 days before the walk. The walk is on a Saturday, so that Wednesday and Thursday preceding the walk, we will have pre-registration at the shelter in the garage area where people can drop off their pledges ahead of time, get their walk t-shirt. If you want a walk t-shirt, you need to contribute $50 in pledges to get that walk t-shirt.
Oh, I could get one then.
Yes, you can. We'll make a note of that.
It's
Absolutely.
okay. Just save it for someone else.
And then that way, a lot of people that have dogs and they want to bring their dog to the event, they don't want to stand at the registration table with their dog and they're struggling with
Yeah,
their stuff.
yeah.
Or the morning of the walk, you come early and enjoy, you know, watching us set up or visit the vendors. You go to the registration table, you hand them your pledge form with your pledges, and you get your t-shirt, and then you're all done. And then at the walk at the very end, we'll be announcing the grand total and hoping that we reach that $60,000 goal.
Well, you guys always do. And
But we can't do it without our community.
absolutely. And, you know, it's funny. I talked to someone maybe 8 or 9 months ago, and I mentioned this to you privately. And we were talking about the shelter and so forth, and she said to me, they don't need anything free. They have lots of money, and they get tons of money from places. Not true. It's not true. First of all, the shelter hardly gets any money from the city, and you can talk about that if you want, but they are reliant upon donations from private individuals, companies, grants perhaps
Yes,
that you
absolutely.
guys
Definitely.
get.
Yes, we do.
But it's not like these people are rolling in dough. They don't have this huge slush fund that they can just dip into anytime they need something. So, you know, please don't believe that kind of crap when you hear it. Donate, 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 because they have a good cause that they're providing good service here, and money's needed. Nothing is free.
We have a lot of services that we offer to the community that take a lot of
Absolutely.
funding. Like
Yeah.
we're doing so well with our low-cost vaccination.
That's right here on
clinics.
my list. That's the
Yeah.
next thing.
Yeah, we have one coming up in September. And the only reason I remember September 22nd is I'm going to be working at that one.
Okay.
And when I say working, no one who works at those things, I'm not paid to do that.
Right,
I do
right.
this because this is something that I believe in, and again, I'm part of the community, and I want this to be successful. And the cost of veterinary care is so expensive,
It is.
and it's so difficult it's so difficult to get into your veterinarian for your basic distemper or rabies vaccinations. That how wonderful it is that shelters are starting to do these low-cost vaccination clinics so that people can come to them and keep their animals up to date. It is so important. I always tell people, if you don't do anything else for your dog or your cat, make sure they're current on rabies. Because if they're not, it can end up costing you money if they would bite or scratch somebody.
Well, and it could cause someone some pretty significant health problems.
Exactly. Exactly.
Not to mention all the other stuff that kind of goes with that. Your homeowner's insurance could drop you, or it could go sky
Right.
high. There are a number of. It's a snowball effect, right?
It is.
I mean,
It really is.
It can, and it doesn't cost that much. And then along with that, make sure that they're licensed by the city. I mean, it is so insignificant of an amount. If your dog is or cat is altered, spayed or neutered, and it's current on its vaccines, it's $5 a pet. I mean, come on. And if your pet goes missing, that's another way to help get it back. So it's not just the city, trying for another money grab here.
Right.
Unlike some of the things that they might do. And that too is another story. That's another show. But anyway, so it's coming up on September 22nd, and is it right at the shelter then?
Yes.
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right in the
Alright.
parking lot in front of the building, and
Oh,
then
okay.
inside in the education
And I don't
room.
remember the next date.
I do not
It's on-
recall, but they
it's
are
on
all on our
It's on our
website.
sign. It's all on our website.
Okay.
All the information, everything that anybody needs to know to sign up or be aware. And there are no reservations. It's first come, first serve. So check out our website, and
Okay.
it's nicely labeled, on the homepage,
Okay.
that they'll be able to find it.
One thing, as long as we're talking about things that are really needed, and we've kind of addressed it, spaying and neutering pets. When I lived in Houston, we had a place, it was actually called Neuter Corp. And they did perform other veterinary services, but their main thing was spaying and neutering at a low cost of pets. And gosh, they did just a tremendous business, as you can imagine, especially in a city that size. But our Oshkosh has grown, and I'm just wondering, are we, do you think, if you gaze into your crystal ball, getting to a point where at some juncture we may have a low to no cost spay-neuter clinic around here? And I say it because over on the Menominee Reservation in Kashina, and I volunteer there, I have for a number of years. It is a tremendous thing. It's just for people who live on the reservation. But once for sure, sometimes twice a year, they offer a low to no cost spay-neuter clinic just for dogs. I don't know if they've ever done it with cats or not, but it's just for dogs. And they do other things, low to no cost too. You make a donation if you can. If not, you don't. They too get money from the same kind of sources that you guys are. But I can tell you that vets and vet techs and dozens of other volunteers are there from early in the morning until late afternoon. And I'll bet you they spay or neuter probably between 55 and 75 dogs every single time.
Yeah.
And if people can't afford it, they donate what they can, and if they can't, well, then they don't.
We had,
That's
But it's
wonderful.
so
did we not
important.
have, we had a
you know?
group there on Thursday? Underdog Rescue?
That was just today.
Yesterday.
Yes, that was today. And we do have a group that comes out of Madison. It's a mobile surgery unit. And we facilitate with just our education room where post-op care can happen. However, all the surgeries or the spay-neuter is done in the van. They come on a frequent basis. All of that is on our website as well.
Okay.
Booking of those services goes directly through the Underdog Rescue. However, all the information is on our website.
We're just a location.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
Well, you can't do it all.
Right.
You know.
it's a very much needed service, and we frequently get phone calls for that.
So it's called
Service.
Underdog Rescue, and they perform the services right there?
They
on
do.
your
They have
lot
a
then?
do,
they have a
Okay.
van. They pull up with their van, but then they use our education room to talk to the people bringing their pets in and for recovery. And
That's
that
really
type of
cool
thing.
because you used to do something, I forget what it was, something about the
Fixes
storm, where they would take the animals down to like Madison or Milwaukee or something.
In
was
Madison, that was
something storm. The storm was in the, was it Riders of the Storm or, I don't know.
Before
See-
my time. Way before my time.
Well, we're testing our brains.
yeah.
But
not today.
But it was. I mean, they checked in, the animals went, and then they were brought back, I think, the next day or something.
There was another service called Spay Me that was in
Oh,
Madison.
okay.
And that was a transport. Animals
Okay.
would come to our shelter, and the van would come and pick them up, and they'd go down to the Spay Me clinic in Madison, and then they'd come back the next day.
Well, this is nice because it's right
and,
here.
And that also was, the relationship was primarily, the appointments were all made with the Spay Me clinic, just like the Underdog appointments are made by Underdog. We are just the location,
Yeah.
a central place where this can happen.
Sure.
And it's so needed. And
It really is.
people want to do the right thing. The majority of people I talk to, they want to have their pets spayed or neutered. They want to have their pets current on their vaccinations, but they can't afford $800 to spay a female or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think if maybe someday, don't know.
Yeah.
Cheryl, the community or the animal shelter itself, the Oshkosh Area Humane Society or any nonprofit, we can only provide the number of services and the kinds of services that our community supports. And if our community rallies and says, we want to see this in our community, they are the ones that can help us make that happen. And I think
But that's raising more funds
that's
to,
right.
to do it.
That's right.
And,
My pockets aren't deep enough.
mine aren't either. But you know what? If everyone gives a little,
Yeah.
like you said earlier,
Yeah.
it all adds
Yeah.
up. And, I mean, heck, I'd be on board with, trying to get something organized and started because I think it is needed. I think that Underdog Rescue doing what they do is a wonderful thing, though. I mean,
It
that's
really is.
that's a great step in the right direction, and we need to take more steps like that. One thing that we've talked about this just very briefly once before, and I want to bring it up again, because we're on the subject of being vaccinated and being licensed. At least I brought up the licensing, and it's needed. Landlords, do you guys still maintain a list of landlords who allow pets?
I
I know at
don't
one
believe that we
time-
maintain a list of that anymore, but we still, I think it's on our
It's on our website.
It's on our
the
website, and it's
information we
on
have.
our adoption application. We do, ask for that information, and we still do call landlords.
Yeah, to make sure that they do allow pets.
Right, and if we don't hear, I believe it's like if we don't hear back from you, we're going to make the assumption that this is okay with you.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because, we've talked before about landlords requiring that dogs and cats that they rent to, because they're going to rent to them. If they're renting to the people who own them, they're renting to the pets too. That they require that their tenants have their pets licensed and vaccinated, and you can't get a license without the rabies vaccination, so they kind of go hand in hand. But it's to the landlord's benefit too, because if that dog or cat bites or scratches someone, and they're not current on their rabies shots, that can come back on the landlord too. We live in a very litigious society, and people are going to go after whoever has the deeper pockets. Well, a landlord has a deeper pocket than the tenant does. You know, so.
And, you know, I've often thought, because I do the cat consultations for the shelter, I've often thought too, I wish that instead of, you know, I understand charging a deposit if you're going to have a cat, but it's having that information of if you have a cat or you have more than one cat, you need to have at least 2 litter boxes, or you have to have a scratching post for your cat. And just by requiring those things also can save the landlord, you know, from, if they're providing the furniture. I always go, well, if it's not their furniture, why do you care if they scratch? But I know a lot of times it's the woodwork or the carpeting that are scratched. So it's a good thing for you know, landlords to be aware of. There are things that they can ask their tenants to provide for their pets to make sure that there's less likelihood that the pets will cause a lot of damage in the home or the apartment.
And for cats with litter boxes, it's 1 litter box per cat plus 1. So if you have 2 cats, you really should have 3 litter boxes. And I'm going to defer to our cat consultant to tell us why that's necessary.
Well, because cats are very territorial, first of all. But most importantly, cats are, most cats, if given a choice, they like to urinate in one box and defecate in another.
Oh, really?
And,
see, I didn't know that.
And just like you and I always ask the children this when I'm doing my educational programs: who in this room uses a bathroom? They all raise their hands. How many in this room want to use a dirty bathroom? And they all put their hand down like, you, stinky. And it's like the same as for your cat. Cats do not want to step with their bare feet into a soiled box. And so if you have more, also if you have a multi-cat household, some cats, let's say, oh, what are you doing in there? What do you, you know, so if you have boxes that are in different places, you know, they can't guard the litter box, and it gives cats the opportunity to use a box of choosing that's a little bit more private. And so there are, you know, there are some people out there that are going to say, well, I only have 1 box and I've never had a problem. That's wonderful. But that's one of the first thing any cat consultant or behaviorist is going to look at if you're having a litter box issue is how many litter boxes do you have, where are they located, how often are they scooped? And what are you using in the litter boxes? And it can make all the difference in the world by just having that second box. I had one person tell me, well, I got a second box, and the cat never uses it. And my question to them was, how many bathrooms do you have in your house? And they said, well, we have 3. And I said, how many people live there? Well, 2. I said, so why do you need a 3rd bathroom? So it's the convenience. And we're taking an animal that's used to being able to go outside and go to the bathroom anywhere and asking them, I need you to use this box in this spot. And then we have to make that commitment of making that promise. This will be your bathroom, and I promise I will keep it clean and sanitary.
So I want to talk about outdoor cats in a moment, but on the subject of litter boxes, Cheryl, what about, and I only know of one person who has one of these robot litter boxes.
I knew you were going to do that.
Well, because some people like technology. So if you have a robot litter box, I mean, that's automatically, at least that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to automatically clean it as soon as the cat uses it. Do you still need to, if you have something like that, should you still be following the rule of thumb of 1 per each cat plus 1?
My primary concern about self-cleaning litter boxes is the fact that if your cat has a urinary tract infection or has the diarrhea, how do you know that?
Oh.
It's a good way. I did a house call one time. They had a self-cleaning litter box. It wasn't one of those ones that tumble. It was one that raked the cat used it and then it raked it. And they just loved that litter box. And all of a sudden the cat stopped using it. And so I went to their house and I said, well, have you ever cleaned it? And they go, well, I don't have to clean it. It's self-cleaning. And I said, nothing in this world is really self-cleaning. And I said, I want to show you something. And I wasn't real familiar with the box. And there was like a chute or something that you could flip up. And underneath there are the little rakes that, it comes over and then it rakes the waste and puts it in the nice little box. Well, when they looked at those little rakes, there's all kinds of litter stuck to that.
Oh.
Well, if there's litter and feces stuck to that, it smells. And if the litter box smells, some cats are going to go, whoa, no, not anymore. They also can frighten cats if they're caught in it. If they're halfway out and the machine starts. It's also a litter box that is one way in, one way out, especially those ones that roll.
Yeah.
So, cats can be pranksters. One cat's in the litter box and the other one thinks, oh, I'll sit on top of the litter box. And then now that other cat is afraid to go in the litter box because he's been spooked by his buddy who is just maybe playing a prank.
Yeah.
So
Cheryl, this is why I love having you guys on, because no matter what I bring up, I always learn something new. I never would have thought about stuff like that. You cannot, and my takeaway from this is, they're great, perhaps, but they may not be. They may not be the cleanliest thing in the world, because cats can probably smell a lot easier than we can.
13 times better than we can.
15 times better.
13.
13.
Well, 13 to 15.
Not as good as a dog, but 13 times better than us.
Yeah.
So, but just the fact that you can't tell then if they've got a urinary tract infection or diarrhea. So,
how often are they going in the box? It's also, it's part of that companionship or that commitment that we make when we have an animal. And again, I go back to my education classes. I teach the kids that, we talk about feeding our dog and feeding them the right thing and making sure that they're healthy and all those things. So, but how many of you clean up after your pet? And then again, I get the giggles and, poo, I don't want to do that. And I go, you know what? If you want to have a pet, you have to learn to love both ends. So you got to love the end you feed, and you got to clean up after the other end.
yeah.
And that's just a fact. And I do not love scooping litter boxes, but it's simple, it's easy. It helps me know that my animals are doing their business in the proper place and that everybody's healthy. And it's just part of having a cat.
Yeah.
And
Well, I don't have cats. I've only had cats a couple times in my adult life, but a lot of people that I pet sit for have cats, and I've gotten used to scooping litter boxes. And you're right; it's not that complicated. It's not that hard.
Right.
It's not a great thing to do.
Right. And,
but
and
it's easy.
Doing it once or twice a day, a lot of times people say, well, I scoop every other day. And I go back to, it's so much easier to scoop a slightly used box than one that's, got a week's worth of feces in it. It's like, I'm a great believer in you have to have the tools that you need. And I encourage everybody to have a scoop and a covered little pail that you can put your scoop into. And then, somebody used the box. You go and you scoop and you're done. And then at the end of the day or at the end of 2 days, you take that bag out and you have another bag put in there, and it becomes part of your routine.
Yeah.
But it's like taking the dog for a walk and cleaning up after your dog. You just get in the habit of doing it.
That's right. All right. Well, we've got about 15 minutes left. Just want to kind of touch on a couple of things here. Your Shy Cat program, since you're talking about cats here. Tell us about your Shy Cat program in a nutshell.
Do you want to talk about the Shy
Sure,
Cat?
I can talk about the Shy Cat program. So what we've been observing lately over the last few years that we're getting more and more under-socialized cats in our care. And they require a lot of work. They require a special approach for bonding. And we currently have a Shy Cat coordinator named Nicole that is doing an absolutely amazing job with these cats. She truly is the cat whisperer. She works with a few volunteers who are also dedicated specifically to these shy cats, and she basically teaches them how to be around human beings and how to become a good house pet. And so it involves feeding them and spending time together as they eat, so they learn to associate humans with good things and just various approaches. And so we're extremely fortunate to have her, and a lot of our cats go through that program when they arrive at the shelter.
Okay. What about Canine Crusaders Volunteer Program?
Ooh.
That
Bingo.
is
Another one for Ieva.
That is still in place. Ever since we started last year, I couldn't tell you the exact number of dogs that have passed through the program, but we've had several volunteers and some are board members as well who were Canine Crusaders.
And Ieva.
I was more on the program side. I wish I was as skilled as our volunteers, but we've been working on some of those tougher dogs and dogs that were a little bit more difficult to adopt out. I mean, one of our biggest success stories was Ralphie, who came in with bite history, very exuberant, no manners, very jumpy mouthy, and he was a very large dog, which made it even more difficult to adopt out. And we had been working with him on training, and it just wasn't sticking. And that was up until the point when he got his Canine Crusader, who is a volunteer at the shelter, and she worked with him diligently, and he ended up getting adopted, and he's a great house dog now, and his adoptive parents just adore him, and we get frequent updates. So we're seeing these dogs leave our shelter in a better place, and hopefully in a more sane place than they have been before.
Oh, that's wonderful. Are you guys still getting a huge influx of animals? I know when you were here last year, you were getting a lot of animals coming in, and it was stressing out the other animals in the shelter. It was stressing out staff because there were more animals coming in than going out at some points. Has that kind of evened out a little bit, or are we still kind of seeing the same thing?
We are seeing the same thing, and again, we're seeing a lot more spicy cats than we've seen before. Again, spicy, under socialized,
oh, okay.
a little bit spirited.
Spicy. I'm gonna let you know my attitude.
Gotcha.
And then the same for dogs. We're also seeing the redemption rate for stray dogs, which historically was around 75 to 80%, now has dipped to 50 to 52%.
Now, why do you think that is?
Well, it probably all hangs together with housing availability, veterinary affordability and availability, but I'm thinking homelessness as well, most likely. So,
and sometimes it comes down to right now we have 2 puppies at the shelter that I'm rather fond of, Pochi and Otter, and they're very young puppies, and they haven't had enough socialization, and I think sometimes what happens, the people that had these dogs, I don't think they did anything wrong intentionally, but I think what happens with people, we get so excited about getting a puppy, and people don't recognize or realize the amount of time and effort that it takes to have a puppy. Our society has changed so much as far as having dogs, especially. We have evolved to keep up the pace with electronics and the fast-moving pace that our lives are now. But dogs have not. Dogs have stayed the same. They need to be walked. They need to be exercised. They need to be entertained, and they're kind of like the, what did they call that? The latchkey dogs. That we're so busy with other things that we want to have a dog, but we're not always thinking about how much of our own personal time and investment we'd have to make in that animal. And don't get me wrong, people, if they get a puppy and they find that it's too much for them, good for them that they've recognized that, and they either try to rehome the animal on their own or they bring them to the shelter so that we can find them a good home. That to me makes them a good pet owner, because they truly want what's best for that animal. And the same thing happens with cats. You know, if people don't have the time or have the enough boxes or whatever, or all of a sudden there's too many, you know, there's a lot of kind-hearted people out there that, you know, well, here's the stray cat, I'll bring this one in, and then I'll take this one in, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I can't afford to do this. It doesn't make them a bad person when they say, I need to bring one of my cats in, or I need help. You know, and we'll try to do what we can, but right now we're seeing a lot of stray animals coming in. And the hardship that we have when we get a lot of stray animals in, and we kind of guesstimate that they must have a home, or must have had a home, is the importance. We don't have any history about that animal, so we're kind of starting from square one. I believe Otter came in as a stray, and so we don't know. Does he like kids? Does he have any allergies? Did he have his shots? We don't have a history to go on, so we're kind of starting at ground zero. To when we put him up for adoption. We don't know what his history is, but we have to go by what our volunteers and our staff that work with him can figure out about him.
Sure, through observation.
And go for there. And that's a real stumbling block too, because people come in and they want to see that dog, and well, what can you tell me about him? Well, he's brown, he's got 4 legs. You know, and yes, we know a lot. We have wonderful volunteers and staff that spend time with the dogs, and usually within a week or so they have a pretty good hold on what kind of personality they have. But we have to remember the personality that they're showing us is the personality at the shelter, and it may be very different when they get them into a home environment.
Well, I want to just make a point here for folks. You know, if you find that you need to surrender a pet, please don't put an ad out there in some of these places, you know, the newspaper, any of these online places. Just please don't do it, because you don't know who you're going to be getting. The shelter has a wonderful rehoming page where you can decide who your pet goes to, but they will help you facilitate kind of seeking out or finding those people. And also, if you have to surrender a pet, whether it's to the shelter or you're rehoming it, please be honest and truthful in every way about why you are surrendering that pet, because if you're not truthful, then someone may be getting a pet that has characteristics that they may not have bargained for, and then they may need to rehome that pet. Just be honest so that these folks can do the job that they do best, and that is taking what you've given them and finding the right home for your pet. So just be honest. Nobody's going to judge you. Just please be honest about things. And while I'm on the subject, please don't buy pets from, I see these signs all over town, especially over on West Town by Menards and McDonald's over there. You know, all these pets people are selling these pets. Golden doodles, labradoodles, golden retrievers. Don't buy from these people. You are encouraging them to continue overpopulating the pet population. Stop already. I'm going to get off my soapbox about that, because I could go on and on and on. But it is ridiculous, and it's almost as bad as a puppy mill. Not quite as bad,
Right.
But they're just churning out litter after litter after litter with no consequence.
It should be classified as a business.
I think if you have so many litters in a year, you have to classify it as a business. At least in some states you do.
But do people do that?
But they don't, probably.
I do want to just say one thing about our rehoming page. When people put and I can speak to this because I'm the person who oversees that page. When people put their pet on our rehoming page, that is about what we do. Is we go through it, we read what is in there, and then if I need more information, I contact them. But placing the animal all falls on the owner. But if somebody asks me or messages me and says, I don't know what to ask people, if I'm rehoming my pet myself, I don't know what to do or who to ask or how to do this. I'm more than happy to help them. I use our adoption application and say it's okay for you to ask, who's your vet, who's this, have you had a dog before? Ask all the same questions that we do on our application.
Yes.
And by their answers, they're usually, and sometimes following your gut. You can't just go, oh, you look like a really nice person, here's my dog. It's like, it's not quite that easy.
And never, ever, ever do a free to a good home ad. Whether it's on Craigslist, the newspaper, wherever, don't do it, because that pet that you think is going to a good home may very well be ending up in a place that you don't really want to know where it's going. And some horrible things could be in its future. So please ask for some nominal fee. Even if it's $35, $50, just don't give it away free to a good home, because it's probably not going to a good home. So, all right, we are almost out of time. Want to wrap things up here? Outside cats. We should just leave them outside, right? We shouldn't be feeding them and this kind of thing, because aren't we encouraging other stuff to happen? Real quickly.
I'll leave it to my cat expert, head behavior expert here.
If you feed outdoor cats, you're going to have outdoor cats. And if they are not spayed or neutered, a lot of people think, oh, I'll just feed them because, they need somebody to be fed. Somebody needs to feed them. And what happens is you're helping them to be healthy enough to breed. And you're just going to have more and more and more and more kittens. And so I would recommend that anybody who has a lot of cats, if you see a lot of stray cats in your neighborhood, they need to call the shelter and talk to our person who's in charge of trap, neuter, return, and talk about, if we're going to have cats outside, let's have cats outside that are spayed and neutered. Because if we just feed them and they continue breeding, and cats, I'm sorry, cats and dogs don't necessarily know that that's my brother and that's my sister. All they know is I'm in heat and I want to breed, and then you end up with inbreeding. Animals that are kept outside or allowed to roam outside can come in contact with other animals, and they can get diseases, pick up fleas and ticks. So if
All
you have
stuff we
stray
want to
cats,
avoid.
So I don't like to think about cats outside. There are some cats that are happier outside, and that's why we do the trap, neuter, return. If you're familiar with Alley Cat Alleys, or you can talk to Tawana. I had a friend who did this.
And we're just about out of time.
They had all their cats spayed or neutered, all their outdoor cats spayed or neutered, and they all hung around, and they didn't have any more cats coming in. And over the years, those cats all passed away, and they no longer have any outside cats.
So a success story.
So it is a successful way.
All right.
But do call the shelter for more information.
All right,
Absolutely.
excellent. Guys, thanks so much for being here. It's always a pleasure, always educational for me. Go to the shelter's website. We've been putting it up throughout the show, oahs.org. Make a donation or create a donation page, and go to the walk on September 14th, or at least make a donation for their medical fund. That's going to do it for us. Thanks again to my guests. Thanks to my crew, as always. And, of course, thanks to you. We'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.